Welcome back to another episode of the Mountain West Insider Podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. My name is Rob Dauster. I have Jeff Goodman with me, and we are joined today by none other than San Diego State head coach Brian Dutcher, who is smiling not only because his team is on a 3-game winning streak, but because he lives his life in beautiful San Diego, California. Dutch, what's going on, man? It's good to see you.
Unbelievably nice here today in the 70s, and no better place in the country to live than San Diego, California.
All right, so you're right. You're right, but I'm going to push back on you right now. We sold our house in Boston. We've been on a little bit of a tour, Dutch, my wife and I. We were down in Charleston for 4 months. We're in Delray Beach right now for the month of February, and then we're going back. We bought a place in Charleston, so we'll go back. But Delray's pretty good this time of year, too.
Man, you're living good too, my friend. Nothing
Yes.
better than the sunshine in college basketball.
I learned from you. I learned from you that, you know what? You got it pretty good. You got it pretty good. You were saying, back when you were at Michigan, if you lost, you didn't just lose once. You lost twice in the winter because you come back and, man, you'd have to deal with the wind, the snow, the gusts, the dreariness. You wouldn't see the sun all winter, right?
Yeah, I got a good story. We were chartering in the Big Ten back then. It was a prop plane, and we were loading luggage. It was so cold, that kind of cold where your ears felt they were going to fall off. Yeah. And I ducked under the plane, and I hit my head on the propeller. It was obviously stationary. I cut my head open. We're going to Iowa to play, and the stewardess goes, "Oh, we can't travel. He's bleeding." And Fisher goes, Dr. Stricker, come up here. He was our trainer. He called him Dr. Stricker. He said, "No, he's fine." So I got to Iowa City. They had a doctor there waiting for me. They stitched me up before the game. I think I was hoping it was tractor trailer that was cut, but no, it was me.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, Goodman came to one of our shows with his head split open once, but that's just because he wouldn't stop talking, and I hit him over the head with his folding chair. So, like one of those wrestling shows. Dutch, I want to ask you this. So, well, I'm gonna get this back. This is generally what happens on these podcasts. Goodman takes it off the rails. I try to get us back going in the right direction. I remember talking with you at Mountain West Media Day, and you were really, really excited about this team and this group that you would put together. And I remember thinking to myself, what is he talking about right now? You lose Jaden, you lose Lamont, you lose Mikey, you lose Reese, you lose Elijah, you lose all of these pieces of this team that was so successful. And this guy's over here smiling and excited and feeling like really good about his team. And you proved us wrong. You proved me wrong. You guys are now sitting here 18-6 overall. You got the win over Houston, the win over Creighton. That win over UC San Diego looks really, really good right now. How did you do this? How did you pull this off? This much turnover, this many new faces, and you're still right here competing for a Mountain West championship.
Yeah, when we were talking, I also thought I was going to have Reese Waters, who was a first-team all preseason selection. But Reese has not come back from his foot injury. I'm not sure he'll be back this year, hopefully back in an Aztec jersey next year. But I had a lot of really good talent. I was excited about Nick Boyd coming in from Florida Atlantic. He's finally hit stride. Jared Coleman-Jones, our transfer, has been good at center for us. And then I've got 10 players in the rotation. 3 of them are freshmen and 3 of them are sophomores. And so it's taken us a while offensively, but the thing we always do is we play hard on defense.
You do. I mean, you guarded when I saw you out there in Vegas. And as Rob said, I mean, you got 2 really good wins in Vegas that are going to stand up at the end of the day. What have you been kind of telling your team here with just, a handful of games left in the regular season that you need to do to be able to sustain this and go in peaking at the right time?
Yeah, I don't try to stress them over the metrics and where we stand and stuff like that. I just say, our message here since we got here with Coach Fisher was we get better as the year goes on. And we almost talk it into existence, but we're getting better. And so I'm more concerned about our level of play. If we play at our maximum efficiency, then we'll make it into the tournament. And that's what the goal is. We want to play in the NCAA tournament. We've done it a lot here at San Diego State. And this team is good enough to do that. I know on Selection Sunday, no one wants to see San Diego State show up opposite them in the bracket.
Yeah, that is 100% true. You mentioned Nick Boyd. We got to know him a little bit when we were down at FAU last year, and I don't know if there is a guy that I've seen that's more excited. Like he didn't play when we had the Field of 68 tip off down there in Boca Raton, but I don't know if there was a better teammate that we saw all year in terms of how excited he was on the bench, how loud he was on the bench, how much he cheered his teammates on. Have you guys felt that with him in the program?
Yeah.
Like he feels like the perfect kind of culture guy for your program.
Yeah, most guys try to ease their way in before trying to assume a leadership role. They don't want to come in and start talking. But Nick is a talker. He's a leader, and he's done it since day one. And we had a practice where, we had some sprints at the end, and they didn't want to run them, but Nick was the voice, and they didn't want to hear Nick at the time. Some of them wanted to tune him out. And I said, that's the sign of a great leader when he continues to lead and he knows no one wants to hear it. And he would not be quiet. He led in that situation where they didn't want to be led. Yet he stepped up, was vocal, and demanded excellence. And so I'm real pleased with Nick and the job he's done for us.
Have you ever had to tell Nick to shut up, Dutch?
I don't do it, but maybe the assistants have a talk with him occasionally.
I love Nick, but I can see that. I can see at some point it's like, all right, Nick, you know what? Like enough for a minute, just take a breath.
Yeah, Nick last night, he had a matchup he liked, and I had called a play, and he didn't want to run the play. He looked at the bench. He said, look who's on me. And I'm like, run the play, Nick. Just run the play. So that's coach's player interaction. But I love Nick, and happy he's with us. He put back-to-back 24-point efforts up for us over the last 3 games, and, really happy with his level of play right now.
Yeah, and you want a guy whose personality is, I can win that matchup, right? You want him to be able to think he can win that matchup, and then when you say run the play, he'll actually run the play. But that confidence is what makes him him.
You need that swagger. Most coaches take confidence from players. That's what we do as coaches. We want them to do exactly what we want them to do. And I've never kind of been that way. I've always let them play with confidence, believe in themselves, and then we try to tweak it. So I want guys that are believing in themselves and confident with their level of play.
Hey, Dutch, how would you have been different had you gotten a head coaching job, let's say 15 years earlier than you did? How do you think you'd be different? Like, how do you think, again, this helped you having to wait as long as you did? Because I tell everybody this all the time, like, you are one of a kind. I mean, you really, and I mean that in like the best possible way. Like, you really are. I mean, the way you look at things, your approach, the way you deal with these kids, it's just different than most coaches. So how would that have changed, you think, if you had gotten a head coaching job 15 years ago?
Well, I've said it before. As much as I thought I knew in my 30s, I knew more in my 40s. As much as I thought I knew in my 40s, had all the answers, I knew more in my 50s. And now I'm in my 60s. So you're paying for my experience. That's what they're paying me for. And like I said, there's nothing in basketball I haven't seen. I've seen every situation, good, bad, and in between. And I just try to keep a level head about me. I try to run a steady program. I don't get too high. I don't get too low. And just try to be there and deliver that constant message that I learned from Steve Fisher. That dripping water on a rock. You're going to wear a hole in that rock with a consistent message. And that rock is some of these players' heads. And I'm trying to sink into their heads and the way they think about life and basketball. And I think we've been pretty good at it.
So if you get wiser with age, how do you explain Goodman?
Hey, Goodman's smart enough to be in Florida right now. I know that.
There you go.
Exactly. That's right.
Fair enough.
Dauster's in Philly where it's like 18 degrees, Dutch. So
no, it's 22
Jersey.
today. All right, we had a high of 22. The sun is shining. It's freezing outside, but the sun is shining. We're gonna get snow later on. My kids are probably gonna be home from school tomorrow, but there is sunshine out there right now. Magungwath. I remember our buddy Terrence Oglesby went out there and did a game covering you guys last year when Magoon was redshirting, and T.O. texted me after. It was either the shoot around or the practice that he was at, and he was like, write down the name Magungwath right now. And I was like, okay, T.O. He gets excited about everything. I think he was right, man. You got this guy, 7 foot, one of the nation's leading shot blockers, shooting 37% from 3. How much of an impact has he had on what you guys do?
He's an NBA talent, and I think he'll play in the NBA. When he gets there, I'm not sure. but he is an NBA talent. In the last 6 games, he's hit stride. I mean, he scores at every level. He can shoot open threes. He scores around the block, over 7-footers. He's got a jump hook. He's got moves down there, and he's good at driving the ball. That's the biggest area he's got to grow, though. And that's me, too. I've got to create more space for him to drive. He gets stripped a few times, but he is a multi-level scorer. He's become a better defender. I just tell him every game what Coach Fish used to tell players: be protective of your first foul, because I need you in the game. You know, our home loss to Vegas, he played 11 minutes. He fouled out in 11 minutes. And now he's found a way to stay in games, and that makes us better.
How's Miles been since, you know, even since I saw you guys in person in Vegas? Because you and I talked about him. He's got a level of emotion that you love, right? But he's got to also learn to harness it. Been a little up and down this year, as most sophomores are. Where are you at with him and his development, his maturity?
Miles is just sometimes he goes too fast on offense, because if he slows down, he sees the entire floor. But that's not atypical of sophomores, first-time starters. So I'm happy with Miles' progress. I think he's got a chance to play at the next level, too. He's got length. He's got athleticism. He shoots the ball at a really high level. So I've got good players here. Yeah. And I know when we start 8 o'clock on the East Coast, people aren't turning in to Aztec basketball. But I think we built a reputation of recruiting really good players and then developing really good teams.
See, I disagree with that. My absolute favorite thing is at like midnight, 12:30, when I'm kind of done, is to go sit on the couch, turn on the TV, and have the only thing on is just some madness happening in the Mountain West. It's my absolute favorite thing about college basketball. There's nothing better than Mountain West after dark, because there's going to be, maybe some kids hitting a 65-footer to force overtime. Maybe you got, a 4-point play at the buzzer for some team to win a game. It just, I love the Mountain West. Like, what is it like coaching in this league? Because every home court you go to is going to be nuts. You guys got the maybe the craziest one, but every home court you guys go to is nuts, right? You have better talent than I think people realize nationally how good the teams are. The coaches are there. The players are there. Everybody's old. And it's just, there's so many different locations, right? You could be playing in Laramie one day. You could be playing in San Diego the next day, right? I love this league. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but I just love everything about this league.
Yeah, look, I think Kansas State and Kansas found out about the old Mountain West, which Utah and BYU were in. And it's don't stay at altitude for 3 days. We've played at altitude in this league. We're playing at New Mexico and Air Force and Wyoming and Colorado State, and we'll go to Logan and Boise. And if you can play within 24 to 36 hours, the effects are less. If you stay 3 days, it takes 2 weeks to acclimate. By day 3, your kids aren't bent over holding their knees, but you're a half step slow. And a half step slow in college basketball gets you beat every time. And altitude is hard to deal with. And I think these teams in the Big 12, they're going to find out that they don't want to stay at altitude for 3 or 4 days to play that road swing.
Hey, Dutch, I know obviously you made the $1 million there in the players era. I want to know if Frieder got a hold of the million somehow and he already spent it at the blackjack table.
If Frieder got that money, he'd have tried to double it at the blackjack table. So it would have been feast or famine. I really enjoyed working for Bill that year in 88, 89. Obviously, my dad and Bill Frieder were assistants together for Johnny Orr at Michigan before my dad took the Minnesota job. Yep. So I've known Bill a long time and, been around the game a long time and really loved a lot of the people I've met along the way.
Again, with that Players Era event that you guys are in, how much of a game changer is that for San Diego State?
It's everything. It lets us retain our players. It lets us go out and get players. And you got to have a whale if you're going to be really good. And we don't have a whale. We have a lot of dedicated fans that give to the program at a high level. But we're not relevant without the Players Era event. And so it's made a huge difference. And we'll see what kind of difference it makes as we try to retain our team for next year. 3 freshmen, 3 sophomores, Nick Boyd coming back. As good as we are this year, we can make the next step a year from now.
You can keep everybody, right, Dutch?
We'll lose Jared Coleman Jones and Wayne McKinney,
Yep.
Chemo Ferrari, but the core of the team will be back next year. And add Reese to that. If we keep Reese, I don't want to get beyond this year, but NIL makes it you're a general manager every year. So
yeah,
you're trying
you
to
have
secure
to
your
be
roster
thinking.
for next year.
Right.
How do you manage that at this point in the season, right? Because you know that there are things that are happening kind of through the grapevine, right? People are reaching out to agents or representatives and making it known like this is here, that's there. How do you keep everybody focused on the task at hand? I mean, you guys got 5 games left in the regular season, right? You still got a chance to win a Mountain West championship. Like I said, you're at Utah State and you get New Mexico at home. Those are the 2 teams above you in the standings. Can win a Mountain West tournament. You guys, we've seen you make a run as a 5 seed to get to a national championship game. How do you keep guys focused on keeping the main thing the main thing?
You don't. You have to have NIL talks now. You have to secure your roster now, because if they go portal, it's like it's unlimited free agency with no salary cap. No pro sport in the world can survive that. Yet that's what college basketball is: unlimited free agency and no salary cap. So you have to try to, at this point in time, start talking to your roster and trying to secure them for next year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, can you do that now? Like, are you talking to the agents, to the players, to the families now, and basically saying, hey, we want to try to lock you in before the end of the season, before potentially then, you hit the portal? Is that something you try to do now?
Yeah, we're starting to work our way through the roster right now.
Yeah.
So you wait till the end and you try to get it all
late.
done in a week. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get to every player over the next week or 2 or 3 and try to see where we're at. We're in negotiations, Jeff. That's college basketball.
It's nuts.
So and you know what? People are calling on the kids already. They're trying to get involved with them. So there's a lot. Yep. The biggest change is now a lot of the big agencies didn't want to sign college kids because they were getting so much money for individual pro players. Yeah. Now just the volume of kids out there, 360 some teams, 13 scholarship kids on a roster, and you represent, instead of one NBA player, you represent 20 or 30 or 50 college players. There's money to be made. And so a lot of times it's in the agent's best interest if they leave. That's how they get paid.
Mm-hmm. How do you manage? I've long said that I think more than what you can get out of the portal, the best way to build championship caliber rosters is to retain that core. How do you? Is that your pitch to them? Like, look, stay here. We got the money. You're going to be taken care of. You can see that you can get to the next level. You can get to the NBA through San Diego State. Like, what's the pitch to keep these guys around, keep that culture what it is?
Just with the really good ones, if you're getting noticed and you're on track to maybe be an NBA player in a year, why would you want to go to a new system? Even though that other school may have more money, why would you risk that? You're being noticed with how you're playing now, with the program you're playing in. Why would you go to somewhere different and end up on a team where you're not the guy anymore, or they're running a different system? And sometimes that short-term money is not in your best interest, even though it's more money. And so then they have to decide how much more money makes that difference to go to another program. Because we're paying NIL, and we're paying good NIL, but we're not at the elite level. We're not paying $2 million, $1.2 million for players here.
Hey, Dutch, last time I saw you guys playing, well, actually I saw you play in person in the NCAA tournament last year, but last regular season game I saw was your trip that you're going on now to Logan. And I remember waking up. First of all, I'd never been to Logan. That place was special. I mean, really fun. They're fans. And you know what I think of the Viejas Center. I've always said it's a top, 5-ish venue in the entire country when it's rocking. So my question to you is, are you taking that Southwest flight home again, in the afternoon, or are you flying charter this time? What are we doing?
I think we're chartering back.
Good.
I think it's a 5 o'clock start. It's an early enough start, and then we get back, and I think we have New Mexico on Tuesday. So we have the top two teams in the league back to back, and that will be a challenge. Richard Pitino's done an incredible job.
He sure has.
I mean, really, the New Mexico State loss, people put too much on that. I think if he had his way, he would never play that game. But it's a state thing. You're playing a rival game against a lower metric team. That made no sense, but they had to play it. And he's had an incredible season, you know. And so I can't believe they're not in the rankings. They are physical. They are tough. And what would they be if Toppin came back? I mean, my goodness, they're already dynamic. So that is a good basketball team.
I do love that the only loss that he has taken so far in conference play is to Tim Miles, knowing what those two relationship is. That I really wish I could be on the phone calls or the text messages that Timmy's sending to Richard right now.
It's incredible. I mean, those are former Big Ten head coaches.
Yes.
Timmy Miles at Nebraska, Pitino at Minnesota. We got Alford, who was Iowa. Yep. You know, Nico spent some time as an assistant at Minnesota. I worked at Illinois and Michigan. You know, I don't want to say we're Big Ten tough, but we're Midwest tough the way we play. These teams play tough and physical. And then we got coaches like Leon Rice, the job Calhoun has done at Utah State. Every coach thinks their league is the best, and the coaches are really good. This league has really good coaching. Sure. Sundance Wicks at Wyoming, generating
energy. He's a riot. Hey, Dutch. Sonny Wicks he might be as good of a personality as there is in the country. Am I wrong?
No, he's dynamic. He's incredible. Yes. I told the refs we were playing him at our place. I think we had to go on a 20-0 run to win. But he's on the floor yelling, screaming. I said, don't take this the wrong way. I really like Sundance, but tell him to coach from the sideline. Don't let him come on the floor every play. So he was like the sixth guy on the roster. He's out on the floor.
That does not surprise me one bit.
If I could.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Hey, how before I let you go, you know, every time I see you, I ask you, how's my guy Mark Fisher doing?
Mark's doing great. You know, 13, 14-year battle with ALS, still coming to the games, a voice in the program, doesn't travel, but we call him at halftime of every game. And Mark is special in a lot of ways. And Coach Fisher's still my favorite, you know, set me up for success. All he asks, he never tells you what you're doing wrong. All he ever asks is, what can I do for you? What can I do to help? I love a guy like that.
So hold on, I don't think I knew that. You call Mark at halftime of every road game?
Yes.
Do you just, like, when you're talking with the team, just have him FaceTime in, or what?
No, we just talk as coaches. When we meet with the team, then we go huddle up and just ask him what he's seeing, the assistants, what have you seen on TV? You know, what do you think we can do? So, you know, he's a bright mind. He's a son of a basketball coach like me. So he was raised in the game. He knows the game. I
like that. That's awesome. That's I don't think I knew that. Did you know that, Jeff?
I don't think I remember that, but man, Dutch knows what I think of Mark Fisher. Like I think everybody in the program knows what I think of that guy. Like, he is the best. I mean,
yes, he is.
Honestly, when you say that, like, and I say it a lot of times, I'll use it like better person than player or whatever. Mark Fisher is literally the best human being I've ever met doing this. I mean,
his attitude. I mean,
yes.
To live the life he's had to live and to be as positive he is. And like I said, you know, you get beat on the road. How can you have a bad day compared to what Mark deals with daily? And he never lets it affect him. Unless he doesn't let you see it. You know it affects him.
Yes, that's right.
He's a positive soul, just a great person. And so we're blessed to have him around every day.
Well, listen, Dutch, it's always good to see you, man. We always appreciate your time and being generous with us here on this podcast. Best of luck the rest of the season, and we will hopefully see you down the road here at some point.
Thanks for having me, guys.